Hello, 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 and welcome, family. You know what? I am just going to tell you how grateful I am for you and how thankful I am for you for showing up here today. There has been a little bit of an entanglement, shall I say, with one of our channels, and then one of our guests had a restaurant fire. I do have a gentleman from the East Coast who is going to step in, so I'm really very pleased that he has been able to make it. But I do have Steve JJ with you. And I'm going to tell you what I like about Steve. He is a well-read man, and um, he he has invested himself in the idea, or really the practice of exploring masculinity. He's also a veteran, and so let me just bring him on. Thank you for your service, Steve.
No.
He's also a veteran. And so let me just bring him on. I was going to say, hold on, I hear me. He's also a veteran.
Yeah, I hear you. It's not
So
me.
let me just bring him on. Really? I was going to say, hold on, what's going on? Where is that noise coming from? He's also a veteran.
Yeah, it's definitely not me.
Well, who? It's me. Hey, by the way, would you be kind enough to take the poll, everyone? It would be extremely helpful. The poll asks the simple question: is Will Smith a king, a Karen, or both? Please be kind enough to take that poll. It is found on our backup channel. I have pinned the link if you haven't gotten the opportunity to check out Coach Love and the crew. Please do. You might even find this gentleman's picture on the channel as he hangs out with us quite a bit. Steve, you're kind of like a good pocket knife.
I am. I got a whole bunch of different tools for different uses.
You do. You have a bunch of tools for a bunch of different uses. So I really appreciate that. Okay,
Well, I
so,
appreciate you.
aw, thank you. We happened to be live the night of the event. Mr. Palou came rushing in. It was very exciting, to be very honest. He was like breaking news, breaking news. And at first, did you think he was joking?
I did. I mean, that's not something that Will Smith's ever done, really. So I was really surprised and amazed.
Right. I was surprised and amazed. Is a good way to say it. I was definitely bewildered. I couldn't imagine a scenario where what I was hearing was as aggressive as what I was hearing. You know?
It was definitely disproportionate to the joke. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. And you want to know what your initial reaction that day was? You were very pro Will Smith.
No, I was pro not being the same voice as everybody else.
Okay. Okay.
I've always had the opinion that violence does not solve anything, and that going off and throttling somebody is never an acceptable behavior. But what I do tend to do is if I'm hearing all the same voices in the room, I'm immediately going to shift to being devil's advocate.
Okay.
And when I did that, I even listed in there, look, I'm actually on your guys' side. However, you can't just always you can't sit here in an echo chamber and not think that there's other situations, other problems going on. So I'm going to play the devil's advocate, and I'm going to think of different ways of figuring out why this is the way that it is, instead of just being another yes man in an echo chamber. It just doesn't appeal to me in that sense. And so I can think of 100 different scenarios where I could have done the same exact thing easily,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
would not have given two shits less about the consequences. There's numerous things. There's so many
So,
things behind the curtain that we don't even see that could have affected that event.
do you think he thought about the consequences, or do you think he was being reactionary?
I think he was being reactionary. I think people are looking into it way too far. I think Will's been through just an absolute ton of emotional roller coasters for the last year to 2 years, maybe even further than that.
Mm-hmm.
And after the red table discussion that he had with his wife, I think a lot of people gained respect for him and a lot of people lost respect for him. I gained a huge amount of respect. I mean, I'm sure it's already hard enough having an open marriage. And then finding out all the other problems that went with it that he was not aware of, that you're supposed to be aware of in an open relationship, it was probably very tough for him. And then hearing those criticisms throughout, the entire world, really. But
Mm-hmm.
really, when it came to the end of it, nobody gave us the shit. It's Will Smith. We're going to go watch your movie. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? But I'm sure that those voices in his head that were Twitter and Facebook and other celebrities, criticizing him and criticizing her. I mean, a man can only take so much. And I'm pretty sure that it just eventually it got to him. And we have no idea about the relationship between Chris Rock and Jada Pinkett Smith. But we do know Chris has taken several jabs at her throughout the years that we're aware of, even in the 2016 Oscars. So it would be easy to say that there's probably a lot more cases of him doing that than we're not aware of. You know what I mean? We don't even know if they had a sexual relationship, which is none of our business, really.
Mm-hmm.
But we just don't have any idea. But what seems odd to me is Will's extremely disproportionate behavior to an inane joke by a washed-up comic. Like,
Washed
such a
up.
weird thing. Chris Rock's not funny. He's never been funny.
Oh, wow. That is shocking. That is shocking.
I've never found him funny. And I know a lot of people get annoyed with him. But yeah.
Wow.
I mean, when was the last time you saw him? Like 10 years ago?
Maybe.
But maybe that's rude of me to say. I mean, you can tell me it's rude to say, but yeah, I mean, it was a lame joke. It was a lame joke.
I wouldn't consider him washed up. I would just say he was already about to go on tour. Right. So he was going on tour prior to all of these things happening. So I will say that. But you know what? When you said washed up, I was just really, really taking that. I'm like, There's some other people that I would count as washed up, but not Chris Rock. Okay, that's neat. Wait, he's at the Oscars. He's doing the Oscars. I think that in itself counts as not washed up.
I don't know.
Okay, fine. We'll leave that on the table. Now, you said you talked about the red table talk. At the red table talk, I know she admitted, she being Jada, I know Jada admitted to having a relationship with a young guy. Did they also admit to having an open marriage at the red table?
Well, when she slept with her son's friend, they were separated.
Okay.
Which, if you're separated, I don't know. Some people kind of have different views of it. If we're separated, it doesn't mean that we're ending our marriage. It means we're taking a break to take a perspective. That means don't go banging other people, right? However, if you're like, look, we're getting divorced. I've asked for a divorce. I filed the divorce. We're getting a divorce, right? I don't care what you do. The relationship's over with. And even if you do somehow magically salvage it, still don't care. It's none of your business what I did when we were not together. You know what I mean? The wedding band goes only on my finger when I want it to go there. You know what I mean?
Right. I thought I should highlight this comment for you because Mildred agrees with you. I agree. I have never thought he was funny. I also agree that Will and Jada will get past this. So, I mean, they both seem unbothered. I guess my point is they do seem unbothered, and that bothers me a little bit. The fact that they're unbothered.
Yeah. So Mildred is obviously a wise woman.
Why?
And
Because she agrees with you.
yeah, fantastic taste as well. No, so here's the weird thing. So first of all, I should apologize. I shouldn't call Chris Rock a washed up comedic. I should be out there uplifting him, right? We're supposed to be uplifting people, not tearing people down. And so that's my bad, my mistake. But it's so
Wait,
easy
now
to
you
fall
have
into
Mildred agree. No.
Well, no, she
Okay,
didn't.
Mr. Devil's Advocate.
Well,
Look
no,
at you.
she said that she never found him funny. She didn't call
Okay.
him a wash up.
Okay, that's good
She
enough.
said she agreed with my assertion that he's not funny.
Okay,
So Mildred's free and clear. But I'm the one that made the mistake of tearing him down, and I really shouldn't be doing that. I should be uplifting him, even when he's having a hard time doing whatever he's doing. I really should be trying to uplift him. But the main point that I'm trying to make, though, past that, is that, like, I hate to say it this way, but are we allowed to cuss here?
A little, just this much.
Just a little bit? Okay. They're
nice.
celebrities. Who gives a shit?
Ah.
They are not normal people. Right?
Oh my God.
I am not going to weep.
Are people too.
I'm not going to weep for someone who's got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank and secludes themselves in remote islands that they've bought in the Caribbean. I'm not going to feel bad for you. Oh, okay, no. A comedian made a joke about you. Go fly to your freaking island. The rest of us have work to do. We have struggles. We have children to raise. We have schools to go to. We have bosses to make happy. We have podcasts to do, right? We have a real freaking life here. Your job is to act. Your job is literally to lie to the people that are watching you. You know what I mean? Wow. Because that's what acting is. You are literally lying to the people watching you because you are pretending to be something you are not. So if you look at it in that context, they are not like us. They do not have the same problems as us. You get what I'm saying? They're not going to work 9 to 5 every single day. You know?
I do, but I guess I just don't want to other them. And I'll tell you what I truly don't want to do.
Yeah.
I do not want to miss out on the opportunity to examine this for the areas that matter.
Right. Well, to be clear, I didn't other them. I just said they are not us. Which means, in the sense, and I'm glad that you brought that up, is they don't deal with the same problems we do. I'm not saying they're less than. I'm not saying they are not humans. They totally are. I'm just saying they have nothing in common with us. It's like the royal family has no idea what it's like to eat on a pittance. You know what I mean? So them sacrificing a trip or a meal or a fancy ball is not the same thing as you and I missing a meal because we don't have the money to eat. You know what I mean? We do not have the same problems. So therefore, why is America so concerned about what a couple of celebrities are doing that literally don't directly affect us? Like we should already know that other human beings should not be assaulting other human beings for stupid jokes. Why is this so profoundly different?
I don't think it's profoundly different, but I think for the first time in a long time, we were all fixated on something that wasn't like an election or a war. So I definitely feel a 1990s kind of collective going on. But even on steroids, because not only are we all interested in the same things, in the same thing, but everybody is talking about it at once together. And everybody's just on the same page about it. And that really doesn't happen unless it is, political. And quite frankly, even people who are not Americans, who are not in the West, they're talking about it. I spoke with the gentleman um, uh, earlier today, um, and it's Qatar. He was telling me.
Yeah, Qatar.
Okay, good.
QATAR. Yeah.
Yes. And I just asked. I said, "So what are you guys talking about? What's your news? What's your news like?" They're talking about the slap, the wapow. Okay, so it's reaching a worldwide audience. Now, I wonder why that is. Why is that? We saw abuse in action.
Hmm.
Everybody saw abuse in action, and we saw bystander apathy in action together. Now,
Yeah.
nobody died, but we saw bystander action in action, and then also um, we saw that urge to protect the abuser in action.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
Wait a minute, Melinda likes you. I'm sorry, Mildred likes you. She, she likes you.
stop
Oh, she
pacifying
likes
people in
you.
their emotions. Now I disagree. They are normal people. It's just society places them on a pedestal. And Will and Jada and Chris Rock once had them same problems of being poor at one time. People always involved in. Yeah, yeah. I think Mildred and I are much on the same wavelength, but I like to explore different avenues and different ways of thinking about things. And the reason why I say they are not us, I've already given multiple different reasons,
Hmm.
is that first of all, we place far too much importance on celebrities,
Okay.
way too much. It's not healthy, actually, because we eventually begin to not see them as human beings. We see them as servants to us to make us happy. I want Will to make me happy in this movie. You get what I'm saying? So we stop looking at celebrities as human beings, and that's why I'm so staunchly against viewing them as these gods of man. They're not. They're human beings, but they have none of the same problems as we do. But that
Okay.
doesn't mean that they aren't worthy of our attention or of our respect and the dignity of being a human being. So I think there's a lot of room for me to clear those opinions up because people don't know me. I know what I'm talking about, but people don't know who I am and why I'm talking about the things that I'm talking about. So I'm glad that people are pushing back because that's good. That's really good.
So for the record, I think we're paying so much attention to them because of what not I mean not in all cases, but in this case, that's really big.
Yeah.
Violence between gentlemen of that stature at one of the most upscale events that we have, you know, in our country. That's why. I mean, how often do you see men in tuxes, a man in a tux actually put his hands on someone? And so I just really feel like we
Yeah.
have good reason to pay attention to this situation. And then to directly after that, see the room applaud him, to see him be able to go back to his seat and continue spewing out violence. And then the person who received the violence be the person who's calming the situation down. And I'm just going to tell you, had we not witnessed that situation, imagine the two stories that come out of that.
Yeah.
And that's real because you
Sure.
get a question like this. So you're telling me, Chris, that Will just walked up and slapped you and you did nothing? You did nothing. Who believes that?
Right.
Who believes Chris without it on camera?
Yeah. Well, more to my point is that why are we not having award shows, nationally televised, award shows for combat vets, firefighters, police officers? Our value system is all wonky. These people are actors. We should not be holding them to this high level of esteem. It's not. If they stopped making movies tomorrow, our world would not end. Violence would not break out across the country. And
I
my
don't know.
assertion is
I don't know, because during the pandemic, when there was no football, there was a big fat problem. I'm sorry.
there was a big fat problem, but
You
the
know,
problem was already there, existing before COVID hit, and that was police abuse.
right? But what I'm saying is the problem of no football
Oh,
was there when there was no football, there wasn't there was a a big fat problem. And I am not pretending like these people are superhuman. Please understand that. As a matter of fact, my argument is just the opposite. They're not superhuman. They're just people.
right.
But when you create the activity that brings everybody together, then that means something. When people get to experience something as a collective that is powerful and it means something. And so I believe that's what's happening, because we are a part of the process. We're we're not just eating the meal. See, in your well, I mean, we're friends, but in other people's lives, we're on the outside of their lives.
Mhm.
With celebrities and with movies and things of that nature, there's a lot of transparency. So people identify with their stories. Um, and they get motivated, they get frustrated, they get demotivated because of what's going on. There are a lot of young men who have attached themselves to Will Smith's journey. And I would say for Jada, there are some women, particularly when she revealed her alopecia, that
Yeah.
attached herself to that. And I have to say, their vulnerability during the red table talk made them even more um, accessible. And
So
like
yeah.
it or love it, what they were doing, it brought them to people's mind more often.
Well, I just want to make sure everybody, like all the attention is drawn to the fact that Coach said that she's friends with me. So it's now caught on camera. But no, so that what you said there was the tabletop event that they had that discussion with.
Mhm.
That did more good for humanity than any role they ever played in any award either of them ever won.
Okay.
Because it for the first time it showed that these people are human beings.
Mhm.
Right? We got to look past the veil. We got to look past the curtain. We got to see the real Jada and Will. And we got to see that they are human beings that suffer much like us. They have relationships, right? I would argue that's probably the only problems that they have that are similar to us is relationship problems, right? And we got to see for the first time that these people are human beings. They're suffering from the same thing I'm suffering from, in my marriage. They're suffering from the same issue that I have with my kids, and they have the same passions and the same loves that I do, and all these different kind of things. It really did. First of all, it humanized them. Second of all,
Mhm.
it began to help destigmatize to some degree mental health care. You know what I mean? Because they were talking, they were not losing their collective shit. They were having a reasonable conversation, a very rational and calm conversation. And most people who are married having a discussion like that, it would have been a marriage ender. But here they are. They're still together. They still love each other. And I don't care what faith you're from, that is some powerful stuff. They made it through things that by far nobody else does. You know what I mean? And so that tabletop conversation did far more than any movie they've ever won an award for. Well, I shouldn't say that. That conversation did more for humanity than any award they won for any movie that they've ever done. Because the movies have an inherent value, right? They have escapism. They teach us. They're a form of, literally, it's an adapted form of ancient communication, right? So that's how we pass knowledge down. And many of us remember lessons from movies and apply them to our real life. You know what I mean? The Pursuit of Happiness and 8 Pounds. And I think that was the name of the movie. But anyways, it's the one where he kills himself and donates all of his organs to other people.
I didn't see that movie.
Yeah, that was super sad. I was crushed at the end of that one. But and Will is such a good actor. He is such a great actor with a broad range of skill sets. But no, what I'm trying to say is that conversation that they had with each other was more valuable, I think, as a social act than anything else they could have possibly done. They probably helped more human beings connect with themselves and with their wives and with their kids than anything else that they've ever done. Because it was the first time we saw them as who they are without lying to us on a screen, right? That was really Will, and that was really Jada, and those were really human beings talking. And they have the same problems that I do here. You know what I mean? And so, I have to amend my previous statement. They do have the same problems as us, just not all of the same problems as us. They don't have to worry about where their next meal comes from. You know what I mean? If they don't make a movie this month, the house is not going to get, taken away, stuff like that. They're not going to have to get kicked out of their apartment. You know what I mean? So I think the relationship itself is the only thing that I really could possibly see that is similar in the same sense, where it's the only mitigating factor that is even remotely similar to the rest of us. But I think it did a lot of good.
But don't you think that the quality of our relationships is truly the quality of our lives?
I think the quality of relationships we have with ourselves is that, and the relationships that we have outside of ourselves are additions to that. We really do need to have a good relationship with ourselves before we ever have a relationship with someone else.
Address this for me. Address this.
The macro reflects the micro. Okay. Kip's not wrong. He's definitely not wrong. However, the last bit is a perception difference. And one could say that men do need to move away from. So it's not women controlling men necessarily. I hesitate to say that. That's like saying Will has no soul of his own, like he can't control himself. He can. And it's like saying men are weak only because women hold some significant value more than men. I don't believe that. I believe men and women are inherently have the same value, right? But men do need to get away from the knight in shining armor bit. That they definitely do. However, there's a caveat there, which is unless they're in danger. Jada wasn't in danger. There's no threat there. I think what Kip is talking about with this knight in shining armor bit is the ways in which we do that as men when we don't need to. It's some toxic ass behavior.
Okay. I can receive that, but yeah. I cannot. The part of this that I just wanted to, I didn't want it to feed it to you the way I received it, but I definitely want to address this issue. You got to know where I'm going. Women control men in a passive manner. I have to tell you, Kip, that's not the first time I've heard that argument.
Yeah.
At all. It's not the first time I've heard that argument. I was listening to a panel the other day. Admittedly, Most of the men disagreed with that, but there was this one lone voice, and he was frustrated and he was passionate and he was hitting it hard and he was yelling over the other men this mindset. He he was stating that Jada was controlling him by him defending her in that way. I would have
So
never thought of that. I would have never
you
thought of that. But I've
you
really
have to
heard
tell me the
that
mechanism.
in
Yeah, you have to tell me the mechanism that they're passively controlling. That's my point, is that, like, if you're going to tell me that my wife passively controls my behavior, you have to tell me the mechanism by which that is happening so that I can break it. And so that's the only criticism I have of that kind of cognizance right
Mhm.
there. Sorry, I've got something in my eye, but so you have to tell me the mechanism that's at work there, because I can tell you that if my wife was being mouthy and someone got in her face for it, I'm not going to do anything. Especially if it's another woman, I'm definitely not going to put my hands on another woman, right?
Mhm.
So whatever mess she got herself into, she's getting herself out of it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go to jail for your stupid ass mouth. But
Okay.
my wife would never make that mistake anyways.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's
I don't think your wife would do that in the first place. I
no,
don't even.
there's no way she could. You know what I mean?
That's not her style.
So,
That's not her style.
um, but I did have a wife that was very, very loud, very vocal, and she scared a lot of guys. Like, she was not the type that backs down from something where she believes it's right to stand up for. I've always respected her for that. I'm still friends with my second wife, so it's not it's nothing that's not unknown to my circle of friends, that I still respect her in some ways. But no, you have to tell me the mechanism by how they're controlling us passively, because at some point in time, there either has to have if they're holding something against us, like they know something that we don't want out in the public, that's not passive. That's actually hyper aggressive, right? That's blackmail. Um, if it's passive in the sense of you're living in a bubble where you've hyper fixated your relationship based on some kind of honor culture kind of mentality, then maybe. But I don't want. I still don't. I feel like I'm trying. It sounds like I'm trying to discount Kip's opinion, and I'm not. I'm just trying to ask for the mechanism by why he thinks it's passive.
Okay.
Maybe I'm looking into it too much, Kip. I don't know. Throw up another comment. Let's read it. Let's hear your
Yes.
response to that.
Kip, please tell us how. How are women controlling men um, by by doing that? That's the real question. How are men being controlled? Okay. Um, I understand chivalry has its place in time. If we are always threatened by the words we encounter that we feel are damaging or harmful, we will always be constantly protecting and defending ourselves in a violent manner. First of all, let me just say I wholeheartedly agree. Personally, I really think Will Smith was wrong for defending using violence to defend her, even if he wanted to defend her. So let's say I agree that he should be defending her. The way in which he defended her was 100% wrong. Um,
Yeah.
and then the second part of your statement is we need to embrace defending um, our stands. Well, you're in a respectful manner, no violence needed.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with your whole statement. I agree with um, your whole statement there. Um, with that said, this is what's bugging me. There's a lot of things that are bugging me in this situation, but I want to flip the situation on Jada. And I can't help but be frustrated and wonder, did she try to hold out her hand? You know that when you do this to somebody that
Like, what are you doing? Are you going to do something about it?
right? Like no, like no, stop. Like, where was her arm trying? Did he bust through her arm? You know?
Yeah. Did she try and stop him?
Did she try to stop him in any way? And it's bothering me because I've not heard a report of that.
I think I said that. I think our last Sunday, didn't I?
Yes, we both said we
Yeah.
were wondering, we were
Like,
supposing.
what
We
was
were like,
Jada doing?
yeah, did she try to stop him? We were both wondering that, right? And so we kind of left the conversation thinking that we were going to find out information about that it was going to come up. The
Yeah.
problem is it never came up. The only thing that
Yeah.
I've heard is that Jada whispered something in his ear prior to him
So it's
going up there.
hearsay. So the only thing we've got is hearsay.
Right. Well,
Ah,
people different people eyewitness events,
yeah.
the eyewitness events are, saying that that's what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to be hearing the exact opposite. I would like the hearsay to be, oh, Jada stuck out her arm and she was grabbing his coattail, but he was going, too fast. Or she put out her arm, and he just blew past her arm. She's kind of small.
Yeah.
I would love to hear some way, somehow, Jada tried to stop him from storming the stage, because in no way, form, or fashion is her man storming that stage a good idea.
Right. Even professionally, as an actor herself, she should have been grabbing after him and was like, hold on, don't ruin our careers. Right. Even if it was something selfish like that,
Well,
it would
yeah,
have
I was
been
thinking not
I
just
would have been much happier with
ruining your
that.
careers, but that's my man. Don't do
Right.
that, baby.
Yeah.
No, no,
Punch him
no,
after
no.
the show.
Yeah, something.
Still not okay. Still not okay. But at least punch him after the show when there's not cameras on you. You know what I mean? But I totally agree with you in that sense where it's like, what was Jada doing? Like, did she just sit there? Because if she just sat there, as far as I'm concerned, we have to have a discussion about a considerably appropriate amount of guilt on her part. And the way that their children reacted, and they were like, that, this is how we do it. Right. That
Mhm.
tells me that this is a behavior that is supported in the family.
Mm.
And that's concerning as hell. You know what
See,
I
I
mean?
didn't even. So, what came out with the children? The children said,
Um,
"This is how we do it."
yeah, the I can't remember their son's name.
Jaden?
Uh,
Is it Jaden?
Jaden, yeah. Jaden tweeted out like, "This is how we do it."
Is
Or
it? So,
something
wow.
along.
Are we to accept that this is how we do it? That's what we. Okay. So then that brings me back to, remember I said, is he an abuser? Is he an abuser? Is Because he's already admitted to being an alcoholic, and not all alcoholics are abusers. Okay. I want to say that right up, right up front. But the reality is, some alcoholics are abusers, and that kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Um, so the issue that I have with that is that there's no history. Will's never been arrested. He's never been prosecuted. There's never even been a whisper that Will is a violent drunk, or that he's a violent person, or that he's a lush and he's drunk all the time. Right. So there's really, as far as I'm concerned with that conversation, there's nothing there that would link logically and reasonably to this situation. Even if he was drunk at the Oscars, I think Will is probably one of the smartest men in Hollywood. I think he's one of the smartest. I think he's one of the most experienced, and he is no damn fool. He knew what he was doing when he walked up there, and he knew what he was doing when he slapped the shit out of Chris Rock, and he knew what the repercussions were, and he said, "I don't care." Something in
Mhm.
the dialogue in his head went, "I don't give a shit." I'm going to slap this mother, and I'm going to feel good about it. And I guarantee you, it felt great. Doesn't make it right. You know what I mean?
Let's go to this idea of it felt great. Oh, let's go to that, but I want to check out this comment by Todd. Unhealed collective trauma we displayed front and center. That
Oh,
goes
bless
to
you.
where
Yeah.
we were in the beginning, why this is so important for us to discuss and unpack. You said it for us very well, Todd. It's
So
not
if
that
we
we're
can, yeah, let's leave that up there for a second.
okay.
Um, can I talked over you and I apologize. I got something to say after you finish.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You're fine.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. I want to clear this up because I hear a lot of people trying to, um, what's the word for it? They're trying to use Will laughing at the joke
Mm-hmm.
as some motivator. No, it's not a motivator. It had nothing to do mostly with the outcome, right? So people can laugh out of multiple different reasons. He could have been uncomfortable. I
Mm-hmm.
laugh a lot when I'm uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I also can laugh at funny jokes. Maybe the joke was actually funny
Mm-hmm.
and Will laughed, but Jada wasn't having it because it was at her expense. Okay, right? And it's more than possible that joke or laughing about it was his way of letting go of any kind of anger he had at the moment. But when he looked over at Jada, he realized he effed up laughing
Mm-hmm.
at his wife's you know disease.
Expense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I bet you anything, Will was never pissed off at Chris Rock. Will was pissed off at Will. And that
Mm.
needed an avenue out. He needed to get that anger out of Will, at Will, out outside of Will. So don't use the excuse of trying to say, well, he was laughing at the joke. That means that he thought it was funny. No, that doesn't mean what you think it means. You're not Will. You have no idea how he behaves in difficult situations. Like, for example, I have what's called inappropriate affect. So my feelings and my emotions are completely incongruent sometimes with an event. Like, I laugh at funerals. I'm
Mm.
joking. I'm jovial, making funny jokes, not about the person who died, but I'm lightening the mood because I don't like feeling uncomfortable. Right? I think this should be something else or whatnot. I get disproportionately upset at stupid drivers. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, so people react in different ways, drastically different ways, and we have no idea how Will behaves in those kind of situations because we've never seen that as far as I know. You know what I mean?
But his
So
mother said that's never happened.
yeah, I don't doubt it. I really
Mom,
honestly believe that.
mom came on and testified.
Yeah. So what was that comment that we I just wanted to cover that really quick because it
Wait,
irritates the
this
shit out
one,
of me. People using him
this one
laughing as a kind
from
of
Todd,
excuse. Yeah,
or
unhealed
or
collective
this one.
trauma, the unhealed collective trauma. And then we'll go back to this one.
Okay.
Unhealed collective trauma. What was my front center? Yeah. So what I believe Todd is talking about is not collective as in a group, but collective compounding trauma within Will. I think that's what Todd is talking about.
Todd, can
Um,
you clarify for us whether you're talking about trauma that collected in Will, or you saying that we experienced this trauma as a collective together? Please let us know.
yeah. Um, I think if he's going with the statement of collective meaning within Will, I think he's like dead on.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't argue with that. But if he's talking about a collective trauma as a group, you got to sell me on that one.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's not something I don't follow. What was his other one about Jung? Because
Here you
I've
go.
read Jung. Yeah, yeah. Jung speaks to laughter as being a coping mechanism. Yeah, I can't remember which book that is, but I've got Where is it? Oh, come on. Where'd I put it?
You have so many books, you can't find the one you want, right?
Yeah.
How are they organized, Steve? How are your books organized?
Chaotic at best. Like I know where they're at, but I can't remember. You know what? I know where it's at.
Is it at work?
It's at work. So on my lunch breaks, I'll read. Like you're gonna find this funny. I have a copy of the Communist Manifesto in my truck that I read while I'm waiting for things.
Why not? Why not? Of course you do.
Right. No, I'm an avid anti-communist, so I firmly believe Warren Buffett's financial advisor. I can never remember his name. He once said that if you want to win an argument, you need to know you need to know your enemy's argument better than your own.
Yeah.
And people who criticize CRT have rarely read anything about CRT. People who criticize libertarianism have read nothing on libertarianism. People who criticize communism don't read anything about communism. I mean, you ask someone who's anti-communist, like generally they will say, well, I've read the Communist Manifesto, or I've read, one book about communism that I'm sorry. No, I've read 10 books on communism that I can think of right at the moment. So I've read the entirety of the Gulag Archipelago. I've read, actually, I've read that twice. Gulag by N. Applebaum, which is a huge, huge book. I mean, look at this book. Like, this thing is huge. It's
right.
Like, huge. And that's a Pulitzer Prize winning novel right there, or book right there. There's Yeonmi Park. There's Banyam. There's tons of books that I've read on the topic. I've also I've read tons of. I've read Marx. I've read both Das Kapital, and I admit I didn't understand half of it. Like I don't understand the economics really, really, really clearly, so I rely on other people who know it better than I do. But I listen. If it's something that I don't know or I don't understand really, really well, I'll take both sides and try to figure out somewhere in the middle where I can actually argue the point. But I always let people know that I'm not 100% on these terms, right? But I still know enough that I can fight with the best of them. But yeah. So speaking to collective trauma in society. Okay. I am going to think about that for a second. I see where Todd's coming from, and I know what he's referencing, and I hesitate to go down that path, but I even more so hesitate to dismiss it.
So he goes on to say that that's just one example, and he loves the books. Same deal with him. So very, very well. Now we have some work to get to. We have to get back to Kip. Kip writes us letters.
Kip's out here writing
comments
articles
down in bite-sized pieces.
Like you can't even see my face.
But tell me, I'll tell you for sure. Their comments are very.
We asked him to comment, and he commented. The mechanism is crazy. Outdated gender roles of providing and protecting that women only want when it benefits them at the time. If you tell a woman to be quiet when she's belittling another, she will have your head for telling her to shut up. But it's also not a protection. Women really do not want to submit, which is required for men to provide and protect. But it is a moving target of what women want and men need to stop being jerked around like a rag doll. Let's hold that. Let's hold that up. Can we keep that up for a minute?
Yeah. Let's break this down. Let's break this because this is a lot.
I'm glad he gave a reasonable explanation that actually makes me think, because I can't stand it when people just say something and then can't back it up. It fucking irritates me so much. So thank you, Kip. Thank you very much. I would be willing to bet you Kip is one of the people in his friends group that they listen to. So outdated gender roles and providing and protecting. Yes. That women only want. I think that's everybody, though. Both men and women fall into that. That women only want what want when it benefits them at the time. I think that's just a general overall um, human trait. And the reason why I say that, Kip, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I want to be clear about that. I have a hard time associating with one single behavior to one single gender or sex, because they're all over the place. We all do them, and part of being a men's rights activist for me is understanding that we have to be feminists. So we should be lifting and empowering women at the same time we're lifting and empowering men. And so I try not to think in terms of how you've got it worded there, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So I don't want to misrepresent you. So I'm just going to say men and women to do that probably fairly equally. As a matter of fact, I bet you it's 100% and 100%. Human beings are selfish creatures, but if you tell a woman to be quiet when she's belittling another, she will have your head. Yeah, but you'd still be right for calling her out. She wants to chew your ass. Okay, take it and tell her to knock it off again because she's doing it again. I think.
But you want to know something? First of all, this is just like such a.
Oh, this is a good comment. This is a really good comment.
Well, if you tell a woman to be quiet, first of all, how this happens is going to be a big deal, because just like I am looking for Jada to hold out her hand when her man is storming the stage, and that has nothing to do with submission at all. That has everything to do with good partnership.
Yeah.
Everything to do with good partnership. And so I just struggle. I struggle with that.
So I want to speak on that after you. I'm
Go
still
ahead.
reading the sentence before that. If you tell a woman to be quiet when she's belittling another, she will have your head for telling her to shut up.
Right. The whole shut up thing is
also
also
not
very
protection.
troubling. But shut up is bad.
Right.
Shut up is bad.
I'm sure he's shortening his comment because you only have like 270 characters to write a comment, and I'd be willing to bet he actually removed a couple of words out of here. And I think we
Unless
should
then
give
you
him
can write a
charity.
book.
Yeah, I think we should give him charity and think for a moment that he's trying to provide the best possible and reasonable explanation. We should be putting as much light to that as possible, as in like we should be giving him credit for not being rude or facetious about it. He's actually telling us that however you want to tell her, we should be putting this in the best possible light. That's what the principle of charity is that you don't take what your opponent is saying always to be wrong. You want to give them the opportunity, or you want to give what they're saying the best possible light, so that you're not misrepresenting their argument. And so that's what I'm trying to do with Kip, because I don't think he's being negative here. So let's rephrase that for Kip. If you suggest to a woman that she is being rude while belittling another, I think that's a reasonable, appropriate way of saying it, with charitably, I suppose you would say. So I think you should always call out bullyish behavior, period. I don't care if it's your spouse. If they're being a dick, tell them they're being a dick. However you want to do that, I'm going to leave that up to you. But my wife has frequently been like, Steve, you're being an asshole. Like, okay, give me a minute. I'm going to go in the other room. I'm going to calm myself down, and I'm going to come back out. Or I'll just be like, you know what? You're right. Because she's called me out in front of other people, and I'll be like, no, my wife's right. I apologize. You know what I mean? And so it's more than possible, depending upon your relationship with your significant other, that's a possible avenue. However, You are right, Kip. Yeah. But is that also not protection? It is. You are protecting your significant other from making a mistake in public that could possibly harm them socially. And in this case, socioeconomically, because Will just destroyed his career, possibly, and could have possibly just harmed Jada's career as well. So, yeah, I think your statement there is true. If we put the best charity to it, yeah, I think you're true. You're right. Women really do not want to submit. That is that. Okay, so I don't want it to be taken the wrong way. That's mind reading. We don't know, right? We can assume, but we don't know. Some women do like to submit. Some women don't like to submit. For example, my second wife would not submit. Okay, but my wife I have now does. Like, she doesn't want to have to deal with social interactions that she's uncomfortable with. My second wife had no problem with it, and I knew that. I was like, okay, well, she's being mouthy right now. That means she's passionate, and it doesn't matter how I tell her that she's being a dick, she's still going to do it, right? But again, I go back to the statement that I've made on this podcast numerous times, is that people oftentimes conflate submissiveness with weakness, and they are not the same thing. Submissiveness does not equal weakness, ever. Some of the most submissive people you'll ever know are some of the strongest people you'll ever know. So women really do not want to submit, which is required for men to provide and protect. I think you'd be better off saying that men have been socialized to believe they're supposed to provide and protect, and that submission by the wife is required to do so. I will tell you, I understand what you're saying here. Whether I agree with it or not, let me tell you, I do that. If someone's being rude to my wife, I immediately go on high alert, and my fists get balled up. I'm ready to punch someone. Like, I'm stupidly overprotective of my wife. But if you've ever met my wife, you'd understand why. She's very quiet. She's very kind, very soft. I am not going to let a man on this planet hurt her. Period. I will kill every single person to make sure she's never hurt. That's a joke, by the way, everybody. But I think, let's look at it on its face. Women really do not want to submit. Yes. We'll just give you charity, which is required for men to provide and protect. Socially and traditionally, yes. That is what we've been taught to do. We are socialized. Men are socialized from birth, literally, that we're disposable. We are there to protect our community, to protect our family, to protect our children. There's an old saying that men will die to protect their children, but women will kill to protect their children. Men are expected to die. Period. I mean, there's no men are the only ones that have ever been forced to die in military service. It's called a draft. And you can actually go to prison for, I think it was like 2 to 5 years. You lose all ability to use any federal benefits like WIC, or federal or state local benefits like WIC, food stamps. You can't use that if you don't actually register for the draft. It's really brutal, actually, because you're going to be a felon. I believe it's a felony. So you're a felon. So now you've got a criminal record that reduces your ability to get jobs. Plus, it's a federal crime. So, but let's go on, because I see what you're saying there, Kip, and you have a valid argument for the most part. There's just a little bit of it that I don't disagree with, but that's cherry picking. I don't want to do that. You're right enough that I understand.
So I'm struggling with the idea that it's required or it's needed in order for you to be protected. I'm struggling with that idea, because submitting in every moment of the day or in every scenario, I don't know if that is required in order to be protected. I do want to introduce Julius here, but I think something's going on with his sound. But I'll tell you a little bit about him while he's getting his sound together.
Sorry about that.
He is a military veteran. He's been in the Marines for a number of years. He has an East Coast mindset, and I say that because you know, Will is from the East Coast, and maybe there's some nuance or traditions or an attitude that maybe someone from the West Coast or a Midwesterner or even a Southerner might not really grasp hold to. The reality is, I know the South. There's all kinds of traditions in the South that everybody, you know, the rest of the world does not necessarily been to. And Julius, if you would just turn your sound down a little bit, or either put in your earplugs because we're getting a little bit of feedback. But if you could do that quickly, I'd love to hear your comment about this this comment from Kip. But if not, that's okay because I'll come back to it. Let's do a test, Julius.
Is that a little better?
Very quiet.
Yeah, you're very quiet. It's not that I don't need you to be quiet. I need to not hear feedback when we're talking.
Echo cancellation. Maybe that works. That'd be getting up.
You're very quiet. You're very quiet. Do you have your headphones in? Or
Yeah,
I don't know, something's going on there.
That's not good either.
Click on your settings and look at audio.
I'm going to turn, let's see.
It's coming out the right place.
Let me hang up and try to.
I'm going to, wait. I'm going to turn it all the way up.
Better?
Okay. Say something.
Bit.
No. That's not better at all, huh?
There
Actually,
you go.
There we go. All right.
Really? Are we in business?
Yeah, I went into your settings and I turned your volume up, but you're still having an echo. But so you'll have to turn us down or put in a headphone. Yeah, I did that for you, but if you could put in your headphones, that'll stop the echo.
I actually have them in. That's why I don't understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Okay, let's try to address this comment here. What do you think of it?
The comment that you guys are talking about here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct? I heard you guys talking. I was trying to get in. Just apologies.
Okay.
Read it real quick.
The mechanism is, I'll read it to you.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I was just going to read through it real quick.
While you're reading, I want to address what Coach said. Required for men to provide and protect. I get what you're saying, Coach. I think some people do live with the misinformed idea that their wife is supposed to submit to them in order for them to protect them. There are people who live by that wow, I can't talk today. I didn't take my medication, by the way. It's an outmodal kind of operating system that is part of the problem with chivalry, right? Kind of like what I said earlier. If my wife wants to be mouthy, I'm not going to stop her.
I'm just going to say this here. I'm going to protect my man. Mm-hmm. Now, I might not I might not fight someone. I might not put my hands on someone, but I'm going to protect my man.
Nor should you have to.
You know, and it may be with how things are organized for him. It might be in not letting somebody speak ill of him in some kind of way. But you can better be sure that I got my man's back. I got my husband's back. Okay.
Yeah.
So And if for some reason I didn't, he would not be okay with that. I'm sure my man would not be okay with that. He would be wondering, what kind of partner are you? I
Right.
say that in this way. No man is expecting that he needs to submit to his woman. Like, that is not the tradition. Okay. And so there is a requirement of protection going both ways.
Hmm.
We may not do it the same,
Right.
but you know what? In today's time, we might do it the same. I might be like a MMA fighter kind of girl and jump
Let's
on
hope not.
somebody's back.
Definitely should not have to be doing that.
Right. But, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
um, shout out to Jen. Jen kicks butt. Jen Welter. Uh, she was the first female uh, Arizona coach in football. And then I believe the
Yeah.
position that, yeah, I believe the position that she played was linebacker. Is that right? Please forgive me,
What?
Jen. Yeah, please forgive me, Jen, for not memorizing your position. But I do know you kick butt. She was on my show. She was on the show, and so
Yeah.
uh, and she's an author.
Um,
I mean, she's a really cool lady. So my point is, if she had to physically protect her man, I think she could do it.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And she's a little bitty. She's not a big girl.
I gotta say though, and perhaps it's not my place. And you remember when I was talking to you? Apologies, champ. You guys got the text up from Kip there, so I didn't really catch your name, champ. And apologies about that. Your
That's
guest, the
Steve. Steve.
Steve.
Steve,
Steve.
Julius, Steve. You
Steve, what's
guys
up,
are
my
both
man?
military vets, so thank you for your
I was,
service.
something. I'm glad you said that because I was looking at him and apologies about, well, I'll talk to you guys on the back chat if you're both available. But when I seen you guys talking, and when I seen Champ talking, I said, oh, he's talking to the 82nd Airborne. That's awesome. When I saw him, I said 82nd. I said Screaming Eagle as soon as I seen the haircut. So respect, bro. Respect, bro. All respect, man. But I just wanted to say, and again, a lot of times in these domestic conversations, I kind of feel like it's, not my, I speak last, being middle age and, no kids and all that shit, like by choice. Uh, Apologies about the cursing there, coach. I just wanted to say, I hear everything and I understand and I'm tracking on everything. However, when we're talking about a relationship, and clearly we ain't talking about, kids, teenagers, we're talking to be in a relationship, you have to be an adult. You have to be a grown woman, a grown man, at least in mentality, right? At the bare minimum. Right? So we're talking about grown, as they used to say, grown folk things. And when you're in a grown folk relationship, at no time should you have to, there are crazy people in the world and things happen, but you should never have to be knuckling up. You know what I mean? You should never
Mm-hmm.
have to be, eh, it should never have to come to that. You know what I mean? In order to prove your love, your commitment, or anything like this. And
Mm-hmm.
everything that Champ said and everything that you said is the exact same thing. We're all that way. If you love someone and you're with them, kill the world if someone tries to hurt them. That is completely acceptable. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying don't protect your loved ones, but I'm just saying I think sometimes people use, especially today, I look at a lot of couples, man, I'm outside all the time. I think they kind of use what they call quote unquote beef, drama, whatever. I think they kind of use that as a crutch to fill holes in their relationship, you know, to fill the gap of trust or commitment or whatever. She knows you cheated on her, so now every time they go out, he acts extra tough if anybody's looking at his wife or his girl, or vice versa. You know what I mean? I think that happens a lot. I think that I truly believe in large part that's what we saw from Will Smith, who I grew up on. I'm not calling him a scumbag or anything, but I really think a lot of that was filling in for what the whole world saw publicly when his hey, by law, his wife, and as best as we can tell, which should be the mother of his children and love of his life, when she publicly, it seems to me like she went out of her way to castrate him. And I believe that there was a bit of a blow up there, and I think it's indicative of what happens in a lot of relationships. I think that's why everybody's talking about
Do you think that somehow Jada trapped him?
it. In some regards, yes, but not the way people are prone to think today. What I mean is
What do you
people,
mean there?
well, I'm from, a family with a lot of women, right? So what from what I hear and from what I see outside, in the lounges, the bar, just regular the neighborhood, just to hear people talking about this, I get the impression that some of the women who said that earlier, because he's one of those Denzel, Tom Cruise type, pretty boy type. So they, Will has always been talked about, and I think a lot of them felt that he got Ashton Kutcher, because there was a whole lot of them that felt that way with Ashton and Demi Moore. They felt like, uh, full-grown woman who was beyond emotionally mature, an emotional wizard, trapped a young man who was physically and legally a man, however, emotionally in no way did he see what was coming. I heard a lot of that talk back in the day. We watched for that. I don't think that happened with Will. The reason I say that is because for a minute it appears that he started running from home. This is our midlife. It's not a midlife crisis, and I'm a complete. You know how I talk about myself. Like I'm But when he was running all around the world, and we just thought he was enjoying life, shortly thereafter we found out Jada. She was back there with the kid's friend, and whatever. Now, I may not be in a relationship, grown relationship or anything for my age or whatever, but for those of you that are, you all know things just don't blow up out of nowhere. There's no IEDs in a relationship. Even an IED, it takes time and preparation to actually make it. They don't, it don't happen 10 minutes ago. What I'm saying is there was blow ups and problems in that relationship from the onset. That when Tupac was alive. Now, when that's the case, when you see signs like that from way back, I say when Tupac was alive, and yet you stayed with the woman, had children with the woman, married the woman, built a life with the woman, now you're not trapped. You may have been entrapped earlier, or, like bruja, we say, like, somebody do like a spell or something, or in your mind or whatever. Maybe, if, the best physical experience you had, once you started really getting with women or something, perhaps. But not after that. Not with one of the biggest, you know, artists in the game who was a distinctly different artist from where you were back when it was Parents Just Don't Understand and the Fresh Prince and all that. You clearly knew Pac was on a whole. That's when hip hop became what eventually it turned into this mess what it is today, right? But Pac was on that different path with quote unquote gangster rapper, b-boy, whatever you want to call it. But that's what he was, unapologetically. And the woman you were with, that you were so sweet about and everything, back then she had there was an altercation. Let's just, I'm being appropriate on your show here, Coach. But there was an altercation, and there were several altercations. Several. Any grown man or woman knows when something like that happens, whether it's the man or the woman, it's like bouncing a ball. It's a reoccurring thing. Nobody just tries crap.
Let me have you hit a pause there though. Because what I'm hearing is that somehow there is a spell on Will Smith, and this is why he punched Chris Rock in the face. Is that what I'm hearing? This is what you want me to believe?
Okay, for the sake of not making it so serious and you sounding all crazy, partially yes. But let me not get nuts here. This is not I'm not talking a spiritual thing here. or like real bruja, or because there really are things that happen. I'm
No,
just saying.
I'm not going to
I'm
give
just
you that
saying.
one. I'm not going. I mean, other than saying that he loves his wife,
Mm,
I'm not going to give you that one. I I would say what feels more logical to me is this: is that he laughed at a joke. Whether he laughed at this joke out of nervousness, or out of honest admiration for the joke, he laughed at the joke.
yeah, I
It
saw that.
at the exact same time, his
Just the wrong.
woman, his
Yeah.
wife, expressed true disdain for it. So
Yeah.
the optics of that was no good.
Those
Okay.
optics, however, were just shaded slightly, though, because
What now?
they were just shaded slightly. What I mean is, I have bit look, without even making it personal, as general as we can, and they're public, so we're talking about that. Look, Jada is significantly more skilled and capable and willing to hide to mask her emotions in the public eye. Nonetheless, that look that she gave, I actually seen her be a lot more disgusted at other things we all have. But that look that she gave, it bothered her clearly. But I think, and this is just opinion, what am I think that when he looked at that, he didn't see what we all saw. He knows how she sounds in the car. He knows how she sounds when she's on a warpath in the house. He knows what made him fly around the world for a couple of years. He understands this. He knows exactly what type. I'm sure Will has been hit. I'm making that. I feel that way from his activities, behavior, And if this is weird, but if the genders were different, you know, I would suspect similarly. I've seen a lot of on the streets a lot. You see a girl go crazy, what my man, blah 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 blah. And this is the girl every now and then you see her with a bruise on or a black eye, but
I
she's
want
so
to pause
willing
for
to
a
make it.
second. I got because you make a point, but then you keep going. I want to
Yeah,
pause for a second because you made this point. You said that Jada has a greater ability to mask her emotions,
yeah,
and
I do.
I, I'm gonna
I believe that.
I'm gonna just do a check in with Steve. Steve, do you agree with that?
It's opinion. I'm
You're
not
on mute.
They're actors. That's what they get paid to do.
No, but
true.
it's not that she has the ability. See, I'm not going to let you out off the hook.
Okay.
It's not that they both have the ability to mask their emotions. Does she have a greater ability to mask her emotions more than Will?
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So you two agree on with that. I must hear why. And first, I'm going to go to Julius. I want you to tell me why you think that is, and then I want to go to Steve. You know,
In
and
this in,
do it to me in a brief couple of sentences. I got to hear
in this
this.
situ- in this situation, because we're talking about a married couple, her being the woman and how their relationship began, and the incidents they had in the relationship and how she handled it, it lets me know that she is very likely to be highly domineering. And so, because of that, the dominant person, or let's just call it what it is, if he was male, the abusive party, they are adept at trying to not appear as they really are when everybody's in the house.
Okay, Steve, what is your thought? Why does she have a greater ability to mask her emotions?
So I can't disagree with anything Julia said, but I can let me go my own way on that one. I think it's because she has the type of character and resolve that allows her the ability to do so. I think she has a strong character. I think she has the resolve that Will obviously does not have.
Mm-hmm.
But even that facade, even that will, or even that facade of resolve broke because you saw her roll her eyes. You know what I mean? So it broke a little bit. But um, if you watch the body language, you watch her hands, you watch her head, you watch her discomfort. Will was perfectly comfortable. He was still sitting back, legs were crossed, and he was hardy, hard. At least that's how I remember it in my head. But I think she has a better ability to. Okay, let me put it this way. Historically, females had to hide their emotions
Yeah.
because emotional females were not the ideal wife.
Right.
And that's an unfortunate side effect of a society that we lived in for hundreds of thousands of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate side effect from that time that we are starting to grow out of.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I think she's a strong-willed person. But don't. And she has a resolve, and she has the kind of constitution of character that would probably forbid itself from allowing itself to come out in explosive violence. It's probably Joyce is probably right in the sense that she probably uses intellect and manipulation, and manipulation isn't always bad. People need to understand that, right? Because I'm manipulating this right now. It doesn't mean there's anything bad about that, right? So it's just our ability to control and manipulate a situation as we need to. It doesn't have to be bad.
Right.
So I think she's just a strong person. And I think she has that kind of character.
I'm just going to go on record. I want to go on record. What you're telling me is Jada is a better actor than the Oscar winning Will Smith. I mean, that's basically what y'all saying to me.
Well, let me be clear. No, that's not what I mean at all. Because when they are, and I laughed when he said, "It's not what I mean," But he was spot on. And when he said, "Hey, they get paid to get on stage, right? They get paid to get behind the camera." 100% correct, right? And what you're saying, I really get what you're saying too. But I stress this: whenever for those of you I've been around family court at one point in my life, like doing a few legal things there, like just working in a small capacity, right? And I would be around a lot of cases and see things. There's a lot of acting that goes on in any court, but it's nothing like family law. There's a lot of acting when things go wrong in a family and the authorities or the public gets involved. We cannot say that the acting that happens in any domestic situation, whether it's aunts, uncles, barbecue, or wedding, or husband and wife like this, there's a lot of manipulation and acting going on, and it is not equivalent to that which is done for money and art at all, at all, at all. And so that's what I meant when I meant she can mask her emotions. What I'm saying is I don't want to be too salty here, but I've already admitted I think Will has been hit. This is just opinion. What do any of us know? Even the people on CNN and everybody talking, what is anybody? We're not. But based off of us being adults and seeing situations and being in them myself, it appears to me that she's very, very much so likely to be a very domineering, and I almost feel like that's sexist because if
So
there was a guy who would say
your assertion is possibly that Will
he
is
knew
an
that he interpreted. To be honest, I think that he saw her shake her head, and immediately he knew it was like an echo. He heard all the names that he's been called and slapped around and told before, let alone he remembers sitting at he brought him onto a show to essentially intellectually, politely, publicly, appropriately emasculate, to rake him over the coals slowly. So
So it's funny that
that
you
tells
say
me
that
everything.
because some people say that he was emasculated, and some people say that they were transparent and freeing, and that he was strong. And so it really,
No, no,
maybe I
but you
should
got to
have did a poll
understand.
question on that.
Think about
Um,
like a woman, right? Think of like I had an aunt once that was really, really in a. She could have died. Any abusive relationship, you can die. I don't care if it gone physical yet or not. All of them jeopardize your life, man or woman, but especially as a woman, right? But she was in one where it was physical. I'm talking, she would look like a Klingon sometimes. People in the neighborhood want to kill a guy. Now, in a situation like this, when you see a woman finally say, that's it, grab the kids or grab whatever she has and go to the shelter, right?
mhm,
Or do whatever to get up out of there. In that moment, she is doing the most courageous thing she's done in a long time or perhaps ever, right? Yet she's still afraid if this piece of you know what shows up or comes around the corner. So someone can be strong and still broken and at risk at the exact same time. It looks different with a male who is, as you guys were talking to earlier, taught from the time we're playing with G.I. Joe, you got to be tough, you don't cry, you don't break, just take it, stop being a, you know what, da 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 da, pull your prance up, suck it up, get a candy straw, stop being a, you know what I mean? This is what
mhm.
we grow up as. I don't care where you is. This is how we grow up. Now, and if not, this is still what's expected of you if you try to be Mr. What I don't know, these cookie cutter guys or whatever. Even if you try that, this is what's expected of you if things go wrong. Now, Will may have been trying definitely in the wrong way to recapture his own self respect. He had held it in for years or God knows what. I'm telling you, I think he's been hit, and I know he's been called all types of things that can get a man killed in the bar, right? He dealt with it regularly at breakfast in front of his children. Did you see his son and his daughter when they were coming up? You think these things just happen? This is, I'm telling you, we all know. And I think what happened is he jumped up on Chris, and I think it was, to be honest, a soft move. I'm trying to be nice, but it's a soft move because it was uncalled for, and the person, or if you had anything, you should have said it behind stage or something. You could have did that. And this is Chris. I could get somebody around his age and around his size, even smaller. I could have got Eddie Griffin. I could have got Bill Burr. Either one of those two guys would have said the same joke, or maybe way worse than them two idiots. I love them both, but they are ignorant. They would have went in, and I assure you, Will would have never even shifted in his chair to act like he's walking up to him. And that ain't
So I
because they're
think some
rich and got
cultural
security.
dynamics do play into that. I want to hit pause for a second and address Dr. Norris Roberts. He asked us, has anyone read Will's book? I have not. Have either one of you guys read his book?
No,
I did, write to Norris and ask him, if there's something that he would like us to like to point out, please do type it in the chat so that we can address it. Um, but to go back to your point, Julius, they have some kind of physical dynamic in the household. And I'm going to say that because, as Steve indicated earlier, his son, Jaden, sent out a tweet that said, "That's how we do it."
wasn't this the kid that was? He was very. Did he figure himself out? Because now he's talking about real grown man business. And I'm not saying I don't know how old the kid is, but I know he's young. So respect if he's over
Real
21 or
grown men,
even.
what now?
He's talking about real grown man, grown folk, as they used to say, business. This is his
Okay.
father. This is his father in the fifth decade of his life, in an altercation with a grown man in the fifth decade of his life, damn near sixth decade. You were just confused about this whole male manhood thing. I really think in this situation, like, look, he's the son. He can say and do whatever. But again, if I was his age, the kids his age who grew up with him, I mean, If anything, you should take notes, right? Or maybe be as silent as your mother's been. What do you mean that's how we do it? You, Jalen, we see this? See, it's not my place. I'm too old, but I assure you, there are youngsters his age who you can go tell kids your age that's how we do it. Let's see how that works out. You're around that age. Shouldn't you be at a rap concert or something? Go give it a shot.
Wow.
Let's see.
Let's see, Steve, do you
Yeah.
think that Chris Rock's stature had anything to do with Will's reaction?
No.
None.
I did no. I would like to speak on something that Julius kind of touched on a little bit that I think needs further exploration.
Okay, let's do it.
For one, is the slap does not have to be physical,
Okay.
right? That slap can be an
Mhm.
emotional slap. It can be emotional manipulation of a negative type, right? So
Mhm.
verbal abuse. Okay.
Indeed.
Second of all, something that people don't discuss either is that when and I think this is kind of where Kip was kind of going in a weird kind of a way. Maybe I'm misinterpreting him, but this is kind of how I've been kind of pondering what he was saying this whole time. And
Mhm.
the thing that I think we need to make a distinction too here is that when we do the kind of behavior that Will's doing, right, or did, okay, what we're telling our wife is that they can't defend themselves. They're too weak. I need to do it for you. You get what I'm saying? Jada's no sissy. Like
At
Jada's a
all.
bad bitch. Like she's an
Thank you for
OC
breaking it.
bad one. Like she's a tough lady. You know what I mean? And I say bad bitch with all respect. Like she's bad.
Indeed. Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what?
I
I
mean,
struggle. I struggle with the B word. I just do. But I follow you. You mean it in a
I'll make
complimentary.
sure I don't make it. I'll make sure that I don't make that mistake
we'll
again.
keep it out the barracks
Yeah.
for a
Yeah, we'll
while.
throw it out. I'll own that criticism definitely. But yeah,
No, man.
she's a bad mama jamma. You know what I mean? She's not weak. She's not a coward. She's a strong woman. You know what I mean?
I
And so when Will did that, what he did was he took her power from her.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? And I don't like that. Um, yeah.
I just
Let's
think
see what Kip's saying.
I really think that he was trying to not even please his wife. Everybody thinks he was standing up for her. People think he's trying to please her, some people. I just seen some things, and like opinions are like other parts of the anatomy that say, everybody's got one. But I don't think he was trying to please her. I certainly don't think he was trying to protect or stand up for her. I think he
Right.
was saving himself. I think that finger in his face when slapped across his chin, the thing said to him directly in front of his son when his son was going through puberty and the daughter. I think these things over the years were in his face, the things that only him, maybe a housekeeper or someone doing the bushes outside have heard and seen. I think these things have, I don't think that he had some breakthrough or something. I think he snapped a little bit, and I think he's real dangerous to himself right now, this moment. But I think he was trying to almost save himself from her. The tongue lashing and you know, you have to maintain, if this is all true, and it's that toxic, and he's essentially a hostage in the house, a hostage of his own making, by the way. Like I said, it ain't go on this long, and it's all Jada's fault. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. If this is the case, and it's not, I'm not even gonna be like how I used to be when I was young and say she was just some evil, manipulative thing. I don't know what Jada went through. I've seen certain things publicly, but you don't know. This could be someone who was crying in front of him when they met. I love you. I love you. Do not cheat on me. I'll be there for you, whatever. And maybe she's super anxiolytic. Every time Will does a movie or something, she just went out and grabbed a guy. Who knows? I don't know. But she is in control in a
Let's
domineering
look
way.
at something that someone who does know. This is Dr. Norris Roberts. He's read Will's book, and this is what he says. I read Will's book. His story is miraculous. It is a good book. She has disrespected Will in their marriage and modeled the disrespect to their children. So
That's my
apparently,
take.
this particular idea is in his book.
That I did not know, but I feel a lot more relieved now. I thought I was trying to be truthful, no matter how messed up it sounds. But well, there it is. You know,
And Kip,
I
we're going
think
to go back to your question. It was just that we had been speaking with Norris earlier on this matter. So here's Kip's comment. Kip says, "We live in a patriarchal society that values force and fear." I wholeheartedly agree with that part of his statement. Force and fear is valued, and it's been valued. Actually, the meaner and more ruthless you are, people seem to reward you um, throughout history. Okay. Provide and protect roles are archaic. Women are equal, even though they do not have the physical. I'm sorry, they are physically. The physicality. Ooh, can't speak.
physicality. I see him.
Thank you.
Physicality for force.
Physicality for force. Uh, they are definitely powerful. Okay, yes,
Yeah,
women are definitely powerful as
that's what
as
Steve was
well.
saying.
But not in the same way as men. There are a reason why sports are separated, um, men versus women.
Right.
I'm not saying that there are no men, there are absolutely no women that are as strong as some guy. But for the most part, the reality is men have greater physical strength than women. Women do not realize how beautiful life would be in a true 50-50 yin yang relationship because of our archaic roles based off of fear.
I just
Uh,
well, sorry.
Go ahead.
I agree with him until the last part. But he says women don't understand the 50-50. And I know what he was saying from before, so I don't want to put this on him. I get his point. I agree for the most part. But they do know the value of 50-50. This is what they've been fighting for, like the whole time. This is why all of this. They understand. They definitely understand. Been fighting for it for as long as all of us have been alive and beforehand. They get it. They get it. They got it all the way back in the 50s when it wasn't cool. When they were doing the honeymooners, the reason they made Alice slightly lippy like that was as close as any woman back then anywhere seemed to, being, standing up for you. And she was still kind of a complete homemaker. From her all the way to Peggy Bundy and Martin and Gina. They get it. Even in art, they get it. In every way, they have been clawing tooth and nail for 50-50.
I think that first of all, I think that relationships you should give your all. Even though you can only be 50% of a relationship, you should give your all, and you should give it based off of your talents and your actual abilities. If a man's a better cook, by all means, do the cooking. If
Right.
a woman's a better gardener and better at cutting the grass and all these kind of things, by all means, do that. You have to see what works for your relationship.
That part, like, that's where I get stuck. When I used to be out there, that's what I got confused on. Because I actually didn't believe that that's what it was about. Like, things like that. Like, I took that as a given. Like, there's certain things you just do as a guy. Like, you know what I mean? And
Right.
even certain things that you would traditionally see as a girl, you help out because that's your girl. And you know what I mean? That's the way it is. I took it.
I
Go
just
ahead.
want us to really understand women protect men.
True.
Women protect men on a regular, everyday basis. Um, in these dates and times, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, is not where we are. I'm traditionally not afraid, and neither is the man of, you know, a bear coming in the household. We have locked doors and things of that nature. So the kind of protection that is needed in this day and time is the honor and integrity and character of navigating through life.
That is the whole fact.
Yeah,
Indeed.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I do disagree with Kip on almost everything he says there.
On this, well,
I thought you
Yeah.
were going to start knife handing in a minute. Like when he's reading it, I seen him
okay.
trying to hold it in. he was itching to go into
This,
DI mode. I seen it.
oh my gosh, I really wish I had a soundboard at this point, because it would go dun 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 dun, because this is the first place that Steve and Kip have really parted ways, where they've broken up.
Yeah.
All right, break down this comment for us.
Okay, so I think if I think Kip would actually agree with me once I'm done here. In the only sense that we live in a patriarchal society is that in which it rests on the bodies of dead men.
Mm.
Okay, 97. What is it? 98% of deaths in war are men. 97% of workplace deaths are men. 90% of homeless people are men. The vast majority of people who commit suicide are men. For every one suicide of a female, 4 men die by suicide. Out of, I think it was like 10 out of the 15 top killers of human beings in the United States, men occupied 10 of those, being heart disease, all sorts of, just go look at the list of things.
Homicides and
violent crimes. Men are disproportionately the victims of violent assault. If you want to talk about a patriarchal society, sure. I mean, if it has to come at the cost of our bodies, sure. But that by saying that we live in a patriarchal society is also disingenuous and dishonest towards women and the value that they have in society as well. And I don't think that Kip meant it that way. So I don't want to be discharitable towards Kip. I don't think that's what he was saying. Mm-hmm. I do agree that provide and protect roles are somewhat archaic. I still believe that if you have the physical strength to defend and protect people who can't, it's your responsibility to do so. Women are equal, even though they do not have the physicality of force. Yes. However, they are definitely powerful. Yes. So that sentence I agree with. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 100%. However, the last sentences are where you get me. Again, women do not realize how beautiful life would be in a true 50-50. For one thing, we don't want a 50-50. Because the system that would be required to enforce that would be so tyrannical, you would want to kill yourself. You would, it would not be, sorry?
No, I know where you're going, Steve. I get you. But I'm just saying, like, look how it is in, like, the service, right? The females, the males, it is on paper, UCMJ in every way possible, customs and courtesy in every way possible, equal. And yet it's not. I mean, it is, but we on our own know to see, not like give them certain things, but you make accommodations because it's your sister, right? So
I was going to get
it
to
may
that,
be 100 of us, but they have their own bathroom and it's only 5 of them. You make accommodations because, granted, back in the day, you would say you do that just because, hey, that's a lady, right? And essentially that's what it is. But today, when you and I as E5 get paid the same, when our commanding officer is a female and we all salute her, raw, man, how you doing? Come on, you know what I mean? When it's equal as can possibly be in every way, except for we make certain accommodations. And they're very limited, and they're usually restricted to their gender. Like, you know what I mean? It's because it's a woman they have to have this or whatever.
I
To
want to
me,
just jump out
that's
here
fairly
and let
tolerable.
it be known that women make about 84 cents on the dollar for every man, and
Mm,
Black women
see,
make 64 cents on the dollar of every man. Pay is not equal. Pay is not equal, but it
absolutely.
should be. And men do better when women are paid equally. Just thought I'd say that. But let us
No,
move forward.
I agree with you 100%. No, I agree with you 100%, but please, like, limit, like, limit to what I was saying. Like, when I address them, I'm saying, like, I literally say, look at, like, in the service. Like, and I'm really making that distinction, like, because in the service, there is none of that. Like,
Well,
you know what
actually,
I
hold
mean?
on. Hold
I
on.
mean, like, the pay wise, just that
No,
one
no,
aspect.
pay wise. Even female veterans today, you can expect me to have a guest about this, are not receiving combat pay
This is correct.
for for wars that they fought in because it was not
This is correct.
exactly. So, I mean, the slate is not clean, even in our military. I just I can't let it
Well,
be
there's one
said that
thing you
we're
got to
making
temper
the
with
same
that,
amount
though.
of money. And I do
No,
want Norris to know that we'll be bringing up his very fact based comments in a minute. I don't want you to think we're ignoring that, but so we'll wrap up Kip's comment here in a minute. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Uh,
say, like, I agree with all of that, and you're 100% correct. There's just one thing, and I know it's a little hard to miss. When I say the service, I'm talking active duty, right? When we're looking at everything you say about the veteran compensation for our female sisters who serve, this is 100% spot on. What I could
Mhm.
say is veterans traditionally, when we first come home, it was all Vietnam vets literally in Triple Army Medical Center just now getting PTSD treatment and things like this. I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm just saying that is the civilian side. That is I'm trying not to curse, but that is the bull, you know what, that's that administrative stuff. But when
Mhm.
you're active duty and you wear dog tags and you can deploy, and you're an E something or an O something, an enlisted or an officer, regardless whether you are female or not, your pay is the same.
Mhm.
You're held by the same legal standards and everything. And it's actually, even then, I'm just saying, it's a little different. As soon as you become a civilian, now we're back into the mess that occupies all of our time, in news and things and politics. They play the game. We can't. There's a mission. That's all I'm saying. And it just changes after those 4 years. And it's really, it's discrimination. It's discrimination because when she's inside and she's a Marine, sailor, airman, soldier, whatever, it's one thing. She's treated like everybody else, and it's hoorah, roger that, hero, soldier, this, that, and the other. When we get out, it is a fact that it becomes different for everybody. It's back to the civilians and their, I don't know, their taste, I guess. I don't know, but I know they make decisions based off of who they like or what they think or whatever. Someone sitting back watching Iraq and Afghanistan will tell you what this female did when she was there just because she's a female. Oh, all
Well,
you did was drop convoys. You ever drive down IED road? This is what I'm saying. Civilians do this. That's not on the military.
I do.
We
This will
do
be a
this
good
too.
place for me to say if there's any females who would like to contact me about our Women in War series, please do. I definitely want to hear from our female veterans. Not that I don't like to hear from our male veterans. Obviously, I have two right here. But I want to talk to women about the Women in War series. So please be in contact with me. Um, I'm seeing a powerful comment from Dr. Norris Roberts. It says, "Will plan Jada a 40th birthday party. It took almost 2 years to plan. The party spanned across across 3-day weekend. Jada uh, gets through 2 days and of the celebration and decided she was done and left her guest hanging. That's a lot.
Can I finish up with Kip's comment though?
Okay, we'll go back to Kip. Hang on, Norris. Hang on.
Okay, so the problem that I have with the last bit of his remaining statement, and I have disagreements with you on the pay gap, but we'll save that for another time. He actually, when you mention the yin yang relationship, okay, there's a couple of ways that we assume that one gender has more power than the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a problem with the value of that power, and we have a habit of saying, well, because women or females do this thing at home doesn't mean, and it doesn't pay the bills, but I pay the bills, right? We're putting a disproportionate amount of value on the shit that the wife does at home.
Mm-hmm.
She makes that house run because your butt, as the man, you're at work. You're not making the home run. You're just paying the bills, right? So there's a completely disproportionate concept of how we view both of those different systems of power. Okay, they're completely, we have a very skewed understanding, and we like to oversimplify what power is. But the fact that my wife literally runs this house from top to bottom, even though I pay all the bills and she pays bills for other stuff, the things that she does here in the home are 10 times more valuable to me and to my family than what I do to bring home money to pay the light bills. You know what I mean? And so it's the way that we look at the power that they have, and the way that we put onto that power the value that we do is a serious problem that we need to have a conversation about. And yin and yang is the perfect example of that fleshed out in an image. So as the tail from one gets thinner, if you notice, the head of the other one gets bigger, right? They are complementary to each other. Therefore, the power and the value of those things go hand in hand. Where one lacks, the other one creates. Okay, so it's not this concept of just because a woman stays home with the kids all day doesn't mean that she does not have the same value.
Right.
It's a conflation. It's an incredulity of the worst possible kind of ignorance. You know what I mean? And that's not saying anything on Kip.
I believe
would enjoy staying home all day, but this is what I experienced from so many women.
43% of men, when polled, said they would be happy to stay home and watch the children if they knew that the bills were paid. It's almost half of all men.
I mean, that's wonderful, but this is the deal. This is the reality that I hear women saying, is that they go to work and they work their 50 hours and they come home and they continue to work. They do a early go to bed so that they can have some honey time, but they get back up at 2 or 3 in the morning so that they can clean and wash dishes and organize. I mean, do the laundry, put up the clothes. And so I hear this constantly. You know, I have my women's group. So I hear women saying, I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted, I'm exhausted because I work at work and then I come home and work. And the frustration of men just sitting there and saying, I need my alone time. Not that they don't, but
no, you know what?
Not that they don't, everybody does. And so I just didn't want to let the idea lay that women are not working. Women are really working. They're working a lot.
That was my point.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you didn't give it.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I gave them credit for the part where they go outside and earn a living and work, and then they come back home and work.
Men do too. I don't understand the problem.
Well, no, the ongoing nature of it. Most women I know, and I should go get a statistic to see if I can find this, but the housework is falling on women, even though they're working outside the home. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that men don't cut the grass, but cutting the grass every 2 weeks is not the same as running the household as you
Live. See, this is why
work.
it's important. I gotta say,
Mhm.
and I get a lot of heat from this with friends of mine when we're out and about, or
You got to
but
talk up a little bit more, Julius. You're
is that better?
That's better.
Yeah.
Yes.
I I gotta say, I get a lot of heat for what I'm gonna say, especially from all my friends, everybody now, especially everybody who's married and everything. But this is why it's critically important to be in love with each other. And obviously, since I'm mostly talking to guys, right? Uh, we cut straight through the BS. And hey, when you're really in love with a woman, you can tell. Like you hear how even here on the panel, we're adults talking. Yes, he's talking about his wife. This is a man in love with his wife, and he's too old, and like not a kid. Where that wouldn't be unless she's in love with him. And therefore, these things are not even. They don't even come up. It's not like someone's keeping a scoreboard. Who does this or this or that? Things like that are the least of the concern.
There's
No
some
problem.
yin and yang going on over there.
It, yeah, like the only way it can be. When I tell my friends, I say it easy, and especially the ones that I knew how I was there when you met. I know how it happened. I seen how, you know, I, I say, hey, this is why it's important to be in love, or else you're playing house. And you're going to have to do
Yeah.
too many things later on in the relationship that you're going to use as an excuse, which, by the way, it provides a profession for marriage counselors and things. Not that there's
Mm.
no need for counseling, but when they start, talking about the bills and this and that, these are all crutches that are in the way of the fact that there's a problem with the amore. There's a problem with the love between the two of you. There's a problem.
Yeah.
And usually just even approaching that, and who am I? I'm not domesticated. So this is why it's easy when I say it. Like I go easy when I say it. Not that it's easy, but I tiptoe, eggshell, because at my age now, when you're talking to everybody in their late 30s, 40s, the older cats in their 50s, whatever, you're talking about people, this is their whole life. You got kids that are going to college, some of them already out. People are talking about, I got grandbabies on the way. You know what I mean? Like, so having to deal with this a lot of times meaning not just shattering a relationship, but fracturing a personal identity, family, everything. And, it's real dark, but it is the reality. Okay? It
Yeah.
is the reality. It's important
Here's
to be in love. Don't play house.
Mm.
yeah. Here's the thing that I have to push back on that, Coach, is that you what you're saying is not untrue as to the amount of work a woman does around the house in general. You're
Mhm.
absolutely 100% true. Here's the part that people don't recognize. So if a drain gets clogged, who's fixing it?
Mhm.
If something breaks, like the water softener, who's fixing it? Who's fixing the roof? Who's fixing the electrical? Who's fixing the sink? Who's fixing the water? Who's fixing the things that go on that aren't covered under laundry, dishes, and other such things? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so for myself, I put my wife to bed at 9. I'm still working.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so I think if you've got a man who's sitting on his ass, let's say you both work all day long and you come home and your husband sits down and does nothing while you do the rest of the work, you don't have a man. That's a child.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Don't use
So
that against the rest of us who are hardworking ass
no,
men.
but I will.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
you got
but I
another
will
child.
say this. I will
You
say
got
this.
another child.
So many
See,
men get away with being. So many more men get away with being children in the marriage. They really do. I'm not saying that they're men, but they get away with it.
Yeah.
why?
So a perfect example here is that my wife, Kip is mostly, Julius is mostly right. Me and my wife, we don't have these fights. We really don't. But
I've
there
seen
was
you
a
with
time
them.
when my wife was saying, like, look, I feel like I'm doing a disproportionate amount of work here, you know, and she said, you know, I feel like I'm doing the dishes the majority of the time. And so we had to have a sit down conversation. And I said, you know what? I've done the dishes 3 times this week. But I didn't tell you that I did them. So you have no idea that I did them. You don't know what I'm doing when you don't see that I'm doing them. You know what I mean? So there
AKA,
might
I'm
be dishes
backing
in the
you up.
sink. She's taking a nap. She's never going to see that. You get what I'm saying? So there's a lot of work. And this is the mistake that couples make is you don't see what the other person is doing because you don't see it. I'm not always going to announce and advertise, hey, babe, I did the dishes.
No,
I
but
don't
you
know,
I'm not a
Steve.
child.
Did you do your dishes or did you do the family dishes? Because family
I did the
dishes,
family dishes. I do the family dishes. Look, my wife does
she
laundry.
should have known it. This.
she
Yeah, so
broke
my
out the
wife does laundry.
claws. She
Right.
broke out the claws.
We have a rule. If you cook,
You know the
you don't
tricks.
clean. Yeah. We have a rule in our house. If you cook, you don't clean.
Was it okay? Look,
And
I'm not going to lawyer this up. I'm just going to say
yeah.
this. There's no way that she could not have known that those dishes, if those were family dishes, she knew. She knew. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. My
Um,
point is that we need to give each other some charity. And I don't feel like men get much charity for what we do. But I will tell you that people who have those situations where they do have a husband who comes home and sits on his ass while you're doing all the housework, get yourself another husband or tell him to get the hell out until he gets a clue because you got a child. You don't have a man. I am
well,
100%. I will walk with you down that aisle and help you kick his ass. I have no problem helping you do that.
everybody's going to ask for Steve's number.
I will. I'll call your husband up. I'll be like, look, get off your ass and help your wife, you dirty piece of crap.
You
know
got
what
Wait
I
a
mean?
minute. Okay,
services
so when
right
I get,
now.
I'm sorry, Steve, when I get all these messages to the hotline number,
I'll tell you what, refer them back to this video or any other video. I will stand by every single woman. I will tell you, kick your man's ass, get him off of the couch and be like, hey, you're going to help me with these dishes? You're going to help me with
1-800 get
this
a
laundry?
clue. Call Steve.
Yeah.
There you go.
No,
Okay,
like,
1-800 get a clue.
girls, tell your husbands if they don't do the dishes, Steve's
I'm
gonna.
calling Steve.
I'm calling Steve. I love it.
no,
This is
seriously,
priceless.
I'm serious
He's
though.
about
Like
to
women,
Jerry Springer you.
right.
Women,
Steve. Yeah.
right? Exactly. Some man with a badass haircut is coming, and he's
You
been in
better
the
act right.
military.
Oh,
He's been
he's gonna make a video personal for your wife and the family for Facebook. It's gonna be horrible. Just act right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Cancel lazy ass men.
Wow. We've been here 2 hours, guys. We have to hit a pause point, but obviously we need a part 2 because we have like at least 6 questions to go through. Okay, we got a lot of stuff that we want to cover. Thank you, Norris, for your comments. I do want to get to this comment that we have up from him. The book identified other examples of what I found to be disrespectful behavior in Will's experience. So I waited. For the record, I happen to know Norris, and he's been a good husband and a great father. He's been married to his wife for eons, so I trust what he's saying. I trust what he's saying. He's a real good guy. Plug your book, Norris, please. By the way, if you drop it in the chat, I will put it up there. Just an FYI, I don't remember what it's called, but he wrote a book about his relationship with his mother as she walked through Alzheimer's. So
I'd love to read that.
Yeah. So Norris, please just type up the name of your book and 32 years he's been married, and And then he says, washing dishes is fun. All right. So Norris, you won't get your butt kicked by Steve.
I hate washing dishes. So does my wife. I spent 4 years as a dishwasher when I was young. I hate dishes. But I'll tell you what, I clean my dishes. I clean my pots and pans before my wife gets a chance.
Aww.
Even though the rule is if you cook, you don't clean. I still clean my dishes. And I clean her pots and pans. I clean my pots and pans. You know what I mean?
That's the love dub. Like you guys got it real. You're love dub. That's the other half of your heart. You're the other half of hers.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
make it
amazing.
beat. They both got to work. Love dub, love it. You know.
All right. I'm gonna also drop this link.
The Still Here series. I like that.
Yes. I'm gonna drop this link in the YouTube chat as well. It is Mama is Still Here.
Nice.
It's the name of the book that I was referring to. So
I really want to read that.
Well, you'll have your opportunity. And Daddy is still here. So he has one. The first one he wrote is about his mom, and he has another book about his dad as well. I'm not sure if he still has entries coming up from the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, but he may very well. We'll have to stay tuned to find out. Nevertheless, stay tuned for a part 2 of this. We've barely gotten through this, but I'm so happy that we're doing this because, as you can see, just talking about these celebrities, right, has led us down the road to really look at our relationships and see where our reflections lie. Julius, Steve, I'm going to wrap up with you in a minute. Julius, do you have a quick couple of comments that you want to share with the audience?
Not really. You know, it's been well. I'll talk to you guys, I guess, when we wrap up. But it's
okay.
Really,
yeah, I'll stay after.
Full conversation. Are you doing the part 2 now, or
no? Listen, we have to. Maybe we can do part 2 next Sunday. If I have to have you guys check your schedules, and I have to check to make sure I don't already have something booked. But if at all possible, we can do the part 2 very soon. Maybe next Sunday, we can do this because, like I said, we're really barely scratching the surface, and it's really been insightful. I appreciate all the feedback from my panelists and definitely the audience. The audience has been, let me give the audience a hand. I mean, woo! Y'all got our
Kip
research.
came with some heat. Kip came with some good comments, man. Even though I disagree with a lot of his last one, man, he came with some good comments that made me think, and I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you. It was amazing. So am I correct? No last words, gentlemen? Am I on my own?
No, I have last words. I just I know that the host should always go last because their opinion is why we're all here. You know what I mean?
Aww.
And we want that to be the last thing that people remember in the podcast is Coach's voice and her opinion. Mm-hmm. I think is incredibly important. So, you know, look, the thing that we didn't even get a chance to discuss is the restorative process that Will should have followed in order to keep his Oscar. Quite frankly, like where the healing isn't just between him and Chris. The healing is between him, Chris, Jada, and society, and the people who didn't get the attention for the Oscars that they won. Nobody knows who won anything else, but we know that Will Smith won an Oscar. But nobody realizes that for the first time in history, a deaf person won an Oscar. Nobody remembers that because Will made a mistake and took all of their glory. So there has to be some kind of restorative process here, some kind of restorative justice that needs to be done so that the people that should have got the attention can get the attention finally. You know what I mean? There's a whole bunch of stuff that we haven't even touched on here that still need to be
Mhm.
discussed. And I loved a lot of like what I could hear of Julius's dialogue going on there. I have very little to disagree with him. I mean, we can have competing ideas, but that doesn't mean that I disagree with him. And
Mhm.
that's important for people to understand is it's possible to hold two different concepts in your head at once, and neither of them have to be wrong or right. It's important to understand that we hold those ideas and we withhold our opinions until we have all the facts in our possession, because until we have that, we're just kind of farting in the wind here. We're trying to make assumptions that we don't have any basis for an argument on, because we're not Will, we're not Jada, we're not Chris. We don't know the dynamics that happen in that. And when we advocate to, I mean, at this point, we can be fairly sure that, I mean, there's not much that's going to come out that's going to change the opinion. Will did something wrong, regardless, period. You know what I mean? There was no reason for violence. So we can cut and dry this one pretty fairly simple. But it's important to always look at things with a certain eye for scrutiny and objectivity, and that we don't rush to decisions without having more evidence at our hands. Even today, we're learning more about their relationship than we did the day of the Oscars, right?
Mhm.
And so it's important for us to kind of stay back a little bit and just kind of wait, watch, see, view, and absorb the information as we can get it, and then form a more valid and reasonable opinion. Because if we don't, we're just continuing on with the harm that action led to within society as well. So it's good to keep a mindful eye, stay objective, look at it rationally, and don't lock yourself into a position before you have all the evidence. And Coach Love is always beautiful. Like, she always looks amazing every time
Yeah,
she
she
comes
does.
on. Like, I had to cut my hair today because I was
I
going to
don't even
step
say
up my
anything.
game.
Oh, thank you.
I look like
Thank
I
a
never want
hobo
to say
yesterday.
anything because it's like, you know what I mean. Thanks for saying.
She's a beautiful woman, and she deserves all the love and attention that she should get.
Indeed.
And same with all the viewers out there. The people that are watching this, you're all beautiful, amazing people, and you all deserve the hard work and dedication that you're going through and that you're fighting for and struggling with. And we should be really working to uplift both genders, because we all both suffer with our own
Yes.
unique hard parts and hard lives and difficulties and struggles.
Mm.
And we're not always aware of them. So we need to give people both kindness and charity,
Mhm.
and remember that we're all human beings. Don't other people. It just leads to really bad outcomes. And remember to love and give charity to everybody that you meet, because every day is a struggle for someone.
Indeed.
And
I'm
thank you
with
for having me, Coach.
My pleasure, and thank you for coming.
Likewise, Coach.
I'm very blessed to have your generosity of your heart and your mind here with me. I'm continually awed by you, Steve. Julius, our connection is recent, but I can do nothing but celebrate you. He has a way of putting words together that absolutely floor me. Uh,
I loved it. I loved everything you said. I really did.
it's really amazing, and I continue to thank my audience for showing up, showing out, investing in the program, and spending your time with us. It is amazing. You guys, this is the best energy on the planet, and what I mean by that is just the synergy of us together brings humility to my heart and joy to my life, and so
Wow.
that's good energy. That
Indeed.
I
that's
agree.
truly what it means to be alive, to me, when you can connect with people in this way. My last words are going to be about Chris Rock. One of the things that is very important to me is positive masculinity and what that looks like. I believe that Chris Rock keeping his cool when he was being physically attacked. I believe that Chris Rock staying on point and staying the course
Um,
was positive masculinity.
Very true.
At the same time, I understand that he was victimized and he did not decide to press charges for whatever reason. I'm not saying that is the course, but I do wonder how it is that Chris Rock plans to hold Will Smith accountable in his own mind, in his own heart. So these are questions that I have for him because so often people who are abused brush the moment under the rug. This is not a question of his masculinity. This is a question of how we are taught to process trauma. I did not see us process trauma well
Mm.
at the Oscars as a whole. Not Chris Rock alone, not the Oscars alone, not the audience alone, and certainly not Will Smith alone. We've got to get better. We've got to start owning our mental health process. I have to do it, you have to do it, and I'm just saying, let's do it together. That's what I'm saying. Let's do it together. So, thank you, and bye bye for now.